and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to turn Venus into a Monarch butterfly fairy. The first step is making the wings. I took a thin piece of cardstock and I drew the outline of the wing on it. We need 4 wings. Then I cut them and painted them ochre yellow. Then I made fluting powder with yarn. I covered the wings with Mod Podge and then with the fluting. I did this on both sides. Once the glue dried, I removed the excess flocking. And I got this. To be able to attach the wings to the back of the doll, I glued some wire using epoxy glue. And here please, do what I say but don't do what I did. Use gloves. I really regret not using them because I spent the rest of the day having a strange sensation on my fingers. It was so disgusting. And no matter how many times I washed my hands. When the glue dried, I got this. For the black part of the wings, I used velvet fabric. I drew the wing, including the details, on the wrong side of the fabric. I needed 8 pieces of this, 2 for each wing. And I cut them, leaving a small seam allowance. I covered the back side of the velvet with Mod Podge. And I glued it on the cardstock piece. Then I also glued the seam. I twisted the wire to join both wings. And then I painted the white details. I'm playing a lot of Animal Crossing lately, and I'm catching a lot of butterflies in the game. They are so beautiful, and I wanted to make a doll spine on that butterflies. I haven't caught a monarch butterfly anyway, but it's my favorite butterfly, so why not? I did this on both sides of both wings. And they're done. Now to the dress. I took an elastic and a little bit shiny black fabric and a square of velvet, and I drew the pattern on them. When I have trouble drawing the pattern on the fabric because the pencil doesn't paint on it or something like this, I take a watercolor pencil and I dip the tip on a little bit of water. Perhaps it's not the best idea, but it works for me. I sewed the chest part with the bottom part. For the back part, I started sewing all the edges for a clean look. Then I sewed together front and back. Then I closed the dress and sewed some snaps on the top part for closure. I hemmed the top and sewed the straps too. Finally, I attach a strip of velvet to the bottom. And the dress is done. Now I'm making the shoes. I took a piece of wire and I looped the tip flat. This will be the heel. I molded the sole with air dry clay. I punctured the sole with the wire and started adding clay to make the heel. These shoes are actually the second ones and the dress was the fourth one. This doll is giving me a lot of trouble. I cut the excess wire. These shoes are going to have a very big platform. When they dried, I sanded them to make them smooth. And also reshape them a little bit. I painted them using green and copper. I tried to make a gradient. Then I rolled up a piece of golden jewelry wire. I covered them with Mod Podge. This is to seal them and to glue the wire. With a piece of elastic, I measured the size of the ankle and I cut it. Then sew it close. I also attached a thin strip of velvet. For the front of the shoe, I used velvet again, but cut in this shape. Now I assembled everything. And this was my biggest mistake, because hot glue wasn't the best option for this. Next time I make shoes, I'm definitely going to use another type of glue. But as I told you before, these weren't the first shoes I made for her, and I wanted everything quickly, and no. At least they weren't very bad in the end. I decorated them using microbeads and glitter and some rhinestones. I glued everything with Mod Podge. And at last, I can start working on the doll. Did I tell you that this girl gave me a lot of trouble? Well, the doll itself too. I started cutting the hair and putting her in hot water. She was in the water for a long time and the water was hot, really hot. But for some reason the vinyl was still hard when I took her off. I tried to remove the head as always, but it didn't come off and I didn't want to break the neck peg, so I had to think something different. So I took my X-Acto knife and I made an incision in the back of the head. This way I could remove all the rest of the hair. I used a cotton ball soaked in acetone to remove the factory paint. To be able to clean the flocking, I soaked a small cotton ball in acetone and I leave it on it for about a minute. Then I could scrape it off easily. And she's all clean. I put on her dress so I could measure where the wings will be. I put a dot with a permanent marker on her back. And I drilled a hole. The best way to do it is with a hand drill, but I don't have a hand drill, so I used my X-Acto knife. It's more dangerous this way, so if you can avoid it, don't do it. Check if the wings fit the hole. I made her 2 antennas too. I used a piece of wire and I made a flat loop. I spiked this wire through the head. It was quite hard. Now with super glue I closed the cut I made. With a little bit of air dry clay I made the bases for the antennas. And I put a drop of Mod Podge on the tip of the wire so it's not spiky anymore. Now I can start the repaint. First I made the body shading and then the face up. As always, I drew the basic shape of the eye using a color that's similar to the doll's skin tone. The irises are going to be brownish orange. To draw the mouth, I always start drawing the darkest shade of the lips between them. This time I made the shading and the blushing a little bit later than usually. And the eyebrows. The eyebrows are a very important part of the face-up. It's what gives the doll her expression. The third act, scleras, and now let's keep adding details and saturating the colors. It's funny, but do you know what? This isn't actually her first face, it's her third face. So, I had to make the dress 4 times, the shoes 2 times, I couldn't remove the head from the body, and I had to paint her face up 3 times. So, she wasn't an easy girl. But well, I don't mind. You know, sometimes things require harder work than others. I drew some freckles on her nose. I also added a few black hairs on the eyebrows. Adding details to the irises changes the doll so much, and I love that. The eyeliner, and her lashes. With my pastel pencil, I made the highlights. and the pupils. I finished her with the reflections of the eyes. And a couple of dots on the cheeks. I painted her antennas black. The last part of this custom is the hair. I prepared the yarn as I usually do. Tying, brushing, ironing, cutting, gluing, peeling the wefts, and cutting the excess. I want her to have some curls. To make them, I rolled up small pieces that I cut from the wider wefts around the handle of my X-Acto knife. Then I heated them with my hair straightener. And perfect curls! I made them more durable using super strong hairspray. I only curled half of the wefts and kept the rest straight. And I can start gluing the hair. I placed the curls at the bottom of the head. And the straight wefts at the top. I cut and style them layer by layer. Careful with the antennas. And when the glue dried, I could make the style I wanted. Again, I used epoxy glue to glue the wings on the back. This position isn't awkward at all. And she's completely done! I have to admit that although I made a lot of mistakes with her, it's perhaps one of my favorite dolls I've ever made. Do you like her too? I hope you enjoyed the video and see you again very soon. Bye!